Hello, it's Mrs. Green, and today's lesson is on how to use a common denominator. We have had a lesson in the past, a couple lessons ago, about finding the lowest or least common denominator, and now we're going to use it to add and subtract fractions. And I have a little graphic over here about what it looks like. But before we do that, you need to already write down your prior knowledge. Prior knowledge. And when I went to find a graphic on the internet, I typed in common denominator, and guess what showed up? A picture of Justin Bieber. So I had to add it here because I thought it was the first image under common denominator. So Justin Bieber has replaced math as the most common thing that comes up when you type in common denominator for images. I'm not sure what that says about us. All right, so I'm gonna allow Justin Bieber on my screen for just a minute. So the key info, let me type that in. All right, so this is a little bit of a long definition that you're going to have to write, and it may not make sense to you at first, but we'll go through it. So write it down in the key info. If fractions have different denominators, so we're talking about two fractions, like we have over here, in my graphic, 3/4 and 5/3, they don't have the same denominator. When they had the same denominator, we were just able to add the numerators and rewrite the denominator. But now we have to do some manipulation. We have to change these fractions so they have the same denominator, and we can do that by multiplying them by an equivalent form of 1. So any fraction that is equal to 1, so 2/2, 3/3, and so on, I'm allowed to do that because of the identity property of multiplication. Anything you multiply by 1 doesn't change its value, so I'm allowed to do that, and it's going to help me. All right, so see what that looks like down here. They have they've determined that the lowest common denominator for 3 and 4 is 12, and they did that by prime factorization probably, so 3 times 1, and for 4 it would be 2 times 2. So you have to look at, let's rewrite those with exponents. You have to look at the greatest number of times that factor was used, and then multiply them together. So you've got 4 times 3, basically, which you might have been able to figure out in your head, but that's the technical way to do it. All right, so they've got 12. Now we have to convert 4/3 to 12, and 5/3. Yeah, so they did it a little backwards here. So they multiplied by an equivalent form of 1, which was 3/3 and 4/4. I'm going to rewrite an example problem on the next screen, so you don't have to write this one down as an example, but I wanted to use it so I could talk through the way that what the words mean in the definition. So you also need, you do need to write this down, because in your key information, I always want words. So you've already written the words. And numbers. So this is a good example of numbers, so copy those down in your key information. And then usually I want algebra. And so the algebra would look like this. Algebra. And algebra is when we don't have numbers, we have letters instead. So it would be A over B plus C over D. So we have B and D are the denominators. And let's say we're going to multiply. Oh gosh, this one is very confusing. You know what? I'm going to skip that. I don't think that's going to be helpful. Don't do the algebra in this case. If you're dying to know what the algebra is, you can go to the textbook, and it's on page 91 in the blue box. But that's optional. I just don't think it's going to be that helpful to you at this point. All right, examples. So example 1 says I want to add 2/3 plus 1/6. I need a common denominator. That's going to be 6. And I need to convert using an equivalent form of 1. 2 times 2/2 is going to give me 6. So 4/6. And I don't need to convert the 1/6 because it already has the right denominator. And now I'm going to add my numerator plus my other numerator and get 5/6. Okay, my LCD, I think I had my pause on or my record. I don't know. Hopefully this turned out okay. My lowest common denominator among 18 and 12 is 36. So I need to convert 7/18 by multiplying 18 by 2. So 2 over 2, that's going to give me 14/36. And then we have a negative 5/12 times 3 over 3. That's what I need to multiply by 12 to get to 36. Negative 15/36. So I've got 14/36 plus negative 15/36. So I'm going to add my numerators. 15/36. And I'm going to get negative 1/36. Don't have to simplify, that's already in simplified form. Next example. So this is subtraction. We've got 3/10 subtract 5/6. Lowest common denominator would be 30, I think. Yeah. Yeah. Because 20 doesn't work for 6. Okay. And I did that mentally. If you wanted to prime factor, you could do the prime factors of 10 are 2 and 5, and the prime factors of 6 are 2 and 3. So you would take the greatest power of each factor as it shows up. So that's 6 times 5, which is 30. Alrighty. Now I need to convert 3/10 to something over 30, so that would be 3 over 3, 9 over 30. And then I need to convert negative 5/6. You know what, how did they do this? I guess I don't want to put the negative. Okay, in the book, I'm looking at the book. They just did 5/6 and then they're going to use subtraction in a minute. Let's see, so that's 5 over 5. It's going to get me to 30, so 25/30ths. And now I'm going to rewrite the fractions as 9/30ths. Subtract these equivalent fractions. Subtract 25/30ths. Now I'm going to change subtraction to addition. Like I do. Change 25 to negative 25. Now I've got 9 minus 25 on top on my numerator and 30 on my denominator. 9 minus 25, those are, I'm sorry, minus, there we go. I'm adding integers. They're different signs, so I have to use subtraction. I always have to subtract the smaller number from the bigger number. And I get 16, and the 25 is my bigger number, and it has a negative sign, so it's negative 16/30ths. Now I have to simplify by dividing out 2. And I'm going to get, I'll go down here, negative 8/15. Example 2b is also subtraction, but here we have a whole number, so that might be confusing. So we're going to demonstrate a whole number. And you can always remember that you can change a whole number into a fraction by putting it over the number 1. So that doesn't change its identity. It's still a 4, but it changes its form, which I need. I need 2 fractions here to be able to subtract. So now I've got 8 and 1, so my LCD is 8. So I'm going to change 4 over 1. I'm going to multiply that 1 by 8 and the 4 by 8 to get me 32/8. My common denominator is 8. And then subtract 7/8. I don't have to change it because my denominator is now common. So I'm going to change subtraction to addition, change the number to its opposite. Now I have 2 numbers that are different signs, so I have to use subtraction. Subtracting the smaller from the bigger, I get 25/8. There are no common factors. However, you might be wondering, since it's an improper fraction, if you have to change it to a mixed number. So this always comes up, especially in 7th grade. Once you get into algebra in 8th grade, you typically would you just leave it because it's not that handy to have a mixed number. The question really is about, well, first of all, did they tell you to change it to a mixed number? I did not tell you in the example to change it to a mixed number, so you don't have to. It's an option. And it's only going to make sense depending on what you're going to do with a number. So if you're stopping, you can just stop. You can write 25/8, and unless the instructions said clearly to write it as a mixed number, you do not have to write it as a mixed number. You do have to simplify. If it was 24/8, we'd have to divide out the 8s and make that 3. But you don't have to do that since there are no common factors between 25 and 8. But you can. If you want to, you can divide 8 into 25 and you're going to get 3, and then you have one remainder, 3 and 1/8. Either one is acceptable in this case because we were not requested to rewrite it in a mixed number. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the number next. If I'm going to write a recipe, then I probably want it in this form. If I'm going to graph a slope, which I need rise over run, then I probably want it in this form. All right, practice application. So number 1, 1/2 plus 1/8. Number 2, 1/8 minus 2. And number 3, negative 7/12 plus 4/15. And just in case you can't read my handwriting. I said it out loud. And then don't forget, as always, to do your wrap-up summary. See you tomorrow, or see you whenever I see you. Bye.